early 60s Valiant, a late 60s Corvair, and even later 60s VW Beetle, a rare VW station wagon from the late 1970s, a 70s Datsun Z-Car, and an early 80s Cutlass that was clean as a whistle and probably shouldn't have wound up there. Let's go to the yard.
Okay, here's another Plymouth Valiant. We've had Plymouth Valiants before on our What the F is that doing in the Junkyard segment. This one's already been pretty well stripped. It's been out for a few weeks. It says it's a 65. It looks to be more like a 61 or 62. So they got the year wrong. Looks like it was upgraded to like a dual master at some point. Still has a slant 6 and has an alternator on it instead of I think they would still have a generator on these years of the Valiants. I believe so. This one's already been stripped. It had a more modern seat in it. All the dash stuff's already been taken off, as I'm sure it's easily eBayable. Still has the trunk lid with the toilet seat wheel cover thing on it. And someone's grabbed the funky taillights. These were one of the more unusual designs. This was like in the early days of the compact car movement, where you had the Valiants and the small darts, the Falcons, and then of course Chevy had their Corvair. This one's already been pretty well stripped, but still, I mean, it didn't look like it was that bad of a car probably when it arrived here, and definitely a piece of history that someone would have probably saved. Okay, here's one that's not exactly rare and valuable, but it's in pretty damn good shape considering the age. It's a 1982 Oldsmobile Cutlass. Someone's already grabbed the grill out of it. I mean, if you look at this thing, the bumpers are like mint. This car does not appear to have been in any like accidents. It does have sun baking on this side, so I'm guessing it was parked with that side towards the sun. It's got the 3.8 liter 6-cylinder. Popular GM motor for many years. Very reliable. I mean, this car looks like it's straight out of Grandpa's carport. Someone's already grabbed all the Cutlass Supreme badges. But you look inside, it had like the full velour interior. And look at the seats. They're not even bad. I mean, they're a little bit ripped there on the corner. And someone already grabbed the dash. I'm guessing the dash must have been in really good condition because somebody did snag that. So I don't know what the mileage was on this, but it looks like a pretty well kept. It might have been a low mileage car even. I mean, it's straight. I mean, is it something that someone would have taken and done like a full restoration on? I mean, maybe not, but look at the bumpers. The bumpers are nice. The chrome's even like nice on this car. And some, of course, got the taillight lenses already. But I mean, considering the condition of it, I mean, if this thing was running and driving, which this may have been a charity donation vehicle, because looking at it, this is the kind of stuff that they get. Usually, like, someone dies, the family doesn't know what to do with it, so they just donate it. And unfortunately, they wind up out here. But someone would have bought this. Someone would have just done a paint job on it and made it like kind of like a cool, like, budget Malaise cruiser. But still, pretty sad to see it winding up out here. Okay, here's one that's easy to see why it's here. This is actually a 1979 Datsun 280ZX. So definitely a cool 70s Z car, but a smog era. It's like it was sitting for many years. It's got all sorts of tree droppings all over it, and I'm sure there were some critters living in it. And unfortunately, it's like it's pushed in on the side. I'm not sure if that's forklift damage or not from when they set it out here. I don't think it is. And it's also a pretty rusty door there. So that's definitely a problem, but the rest of it doesn't look too rusty, just that. Someone's already gotten in here, gotten all of the gauges, including the middle gauges there. It looks like they ripped apart the dash to get to it. So I don't know how many miles it has. This was an automatic car, so a little bit less fun, but definitely something that's got a lot of good parts for people that are looking to restore one of these. Unfortunately, someone decided to leave it outside for a very long time. And if you look, there's just like dirt everywhere. I mean, this thing must have just sat outside under a tree or something, and it's like the rear tire is just completely shredded. That must have happened. Maybe the tire blew out, and that's why it has the dent in the side, and then it just got parked. I don't know. A little bit of rust on this door, but it seems to be about the only rust is on the doors there. Other than that, the rest of it was pretty solid. I not a super high dollar car yet. Probably in the coming years, this is something we're going to look back on and just really cringe. But like I said, it's still an unusual car to see popping up at a self-service wrecking yard in 2020. Here's an unusual 1970s Volkswagen. This one's actually a Dasher station wagon. When's the last time you saw one of these? It still has the original 4-cylinder engine. Not too many parts have been pulled off of it. It's not one of the diesel Volkswagens of this era, which were really nice because those are actually smog exempt. This one is not, since it is a gas motor. But this one appears to have been like in really good condition, so I don't know how it wound up out here. I mean, it's all there. I mean, the paint doesn't even look that bad. It looks like it would have been cleaned up and you'd have been ready to go. I mean, looking inside, the interior was even pretty nice on this one. The seats aren't ripped at all. A little bit worn out, but not something terrible. Odometer shows 65,000 miles, which looks about right. I mean, I know these Volkswagen odometers of that era tend to freeze up, but if you look at the trip odometer, actually the trip odometer wasn't reset to 0, which tells me that that's probably the correct mileage. This one's actually a 4-speed car, so even better. I'm looking at the headliner. Headliner was in good shape. I mean, this thing was pretty clean. I could honestly see if this had been advertised, a Volkswagen person picking this thing up, because these are just non-existent anymore. Someone already grabbed the taillight lenses as well and a couple of the door handles. But I mean, the dash is nice. I mean, this car really honestly should have been saved by someone who's like a VW person, so it's kind of sad to see it out here. Okay, and another Volkswagen, this one a little bit more common, it's just slightly. This is a 1969 Volkswagen Beetle, so of course they built like just millions of these things. But they are getting kind of hard to find, the old 60s ones, the pre-Super Beetle cars. There is some rust down in the front apron, and it does show some damage, like where it was maybe in a front-end collision at some point, as most of them were. There's a little bit of Bondo, like very thick paint there in this section here. But, you know, overall, I mean, realistically, it's not that rusty a car. The floorboards look to be in good condition as well, which that tends to be a problem on these older Beetles. Even down, you know, in the back seat where the battery sits, looks to be in good shape. Somebody probably would have grabbed this to do some sort of a custom with it, either use the pan for like a Myers Manx or make this into like a Baja Bug. Maybe not do like a full restoration per se. A little bit of rust here. That's actually where a lot of them rust. There's behind the side windows. In fact, I had a 70 Beetle recently that was pretty well rusted there. The rear apron is actually in good condition, so not too bad. Of course, someone's already grabbed the motor out of this one. And I mean, overall, I mean, just because of the popularity of these and the availability of parts, I could see someone actually picking this thing up and doing something with it. I don't know why, we still seem to see a lot of Corvairs out here in California popping up at the self-service yards, and this one is a 1967 Corvair 500. So this was like a sport model, but like not quite the Monza, which was like I think the top of the line of the sport models. And this one, as you can see, has already been pretty well gutted. So it's actually been out here about almost a month. So pretty much people have already gotten in here and scavenged most of the stuff off of it. It actually has a temporary registration, like from a dealer from 2004. So this car was actually running as of 2004. So I don't know, then it wound up out here years later. But still has most of the engine. Someone's already got like the manifolds and the carbs and stuff off of it. Things like that. Still a few good parts left on it. The rear bumper's there, trunk lid's there, but already been mostly scavenged. Still, I mean, it looked like it was a straight rust-free car. I mean, the floors don't even look bad at all. So, I mean, I imagine when it got here, it was probably still a savable car. So definitely something sad to see winding up at a wrecking yard and instead of being restored by a Corvair fan.
So that's going to do it for Volume 12 of What the F Is That Doing in the Junkyard. Be sure to leave a comment as to what car you least like to see in the junkyard, most like to see in your driveway. And go ahead and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified as to all my new videos. Go back and watch all the old videos in this series. Actually, I've got a playlist on my channel with all those. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.